So hey, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are gonna see what if godlike Naruto revealed forbidden secret of pervy Ino. Movie 2. This is the end of this series. Please leave a like and do subscribe to this channel, also share with your friends. Without wasting any more time, let's begin. You'll soon regret those words, Deidara warned as he swooped down towards them. One of us will, Shin said confidently as he prepared to strike down Deidara, but at the last minute he jumped off the bird. No problem, I can still cut down your bird, he declared as he swung his black sword. Don't count on it, Katsu, Deidara shouted as he made a half-tiger ram hand sign, causing the bird to detonate before Shin could cut it. Shin, Sasuke called out as he watched his comrade get engulfed by a big explosion while he and the others jumped to safety. That idiot, Karen muttered but was still worried for her comrade's safety. You should worry about yourselves more, Deidara said while standing on a tree branch as he reached into his bag and pulled out a handful of clay spheres and threw them at Sasuke's team. Sasuke's team managed to dodge them, but as soon as they hit the ground, the clay spheres turned into spiders and began to scatter across the surrounding forest. Senpai, I'm all done setting up, Toby called out to Deidara. Good job, Toby, Deidara complimented as he reached into his bag and the mouths on his palms opened up and started to chew some clay. Senpai, behind you, Toby warned. Deidara turned his head around to see Shin coming down on him. Gotcha, Shin said as he swung his white sword, unleashing a wave of energy at Deidara, who jumped out of the way to avoid it. However, Shin expected that and used a nearby tree branch to propel himself back at Deidara. He swung his swords in an X pattern, cutting Deidara into pieces. Too easy, Shin smirked only to have it disappear as Deidara turned to clay. A substitution, he thought as he suddenly felt several taps on his back. The hell? Katsu, Deidara said as the clay spiders on Shin's back exploded. Yeah, you got him this time, partner, Toby cheered happily. Shut up, Toby, if it was that easy he would have done earlier and pay attention. He could. Deidara cut himself off as a black sword shot out from the smoke towards Toby. Was all Toby could say as the black sword pierced right through his chest and he fell forward onto the ground. One down, Shin told himself as he jumped out of the smoke to land in front of Toby. His clothes were charred from the explosions. Idiot, I told you to pay attention, Deidara scolded his partner as he landed on a nearby tree branch. But senpai, it was too fast, Toby explained as he suddenly stood up. He stood back up, Shin's eyes widened in surprise. He could have sworn that his sword pierced through him. Wah! Toby yelled in surprise at seeing Shin in front of him and jumped back. He's a little jumpy, isn't he? Shin said aloud as he walked over to his black sword but then stepped on something soft. Huh? Another explosion suddenly consumed Shin. Fool, you should have watched your footing and maybe you could have avoided the landmine, Deidara thought as he discreetly released clay insects from his palms that jump onto the tree trunk. I need to increase the amount of C1 grade explosives around the field. Coughing can be heard as Shin walks out of the smoke. His clothes are only charred, but his body appears to have taken some damage. Now that hurt. Shin winced as he observed his surroundings. How much more can he take? Sujetsu asked as he watched the battle. They appeared to be concentrating their attacks on him, Jugo commented. Then they won't pay much attention to us, Karen added in, but then several clay spiders jumped at them from the tree tops. Watch out, Sujetsu warned, but then Sasuke gathered lightning chakra into his left hand, swung it in front of himself, releasing several needles made of lightning that pinned the clay spiders to the tree trunks. Nice one, Sasuke-kun, Karen cheered. Keep your guard up, Sasuke told her as he activated his Sharingan. Let's see how you deal with this, Deidara said as he extended his arms toward Shin, and a thin line of clay shoots out of the mouths on his palms. The ends of the clay begin to form into two humanoid figures. Easy, Shin said as he slashed one with his swords, only to have them stuck in its body. Maybe not. He tried to pull his swords out, but they wouldn't budge. Alright then. He gathered chakra into his white sword and slashed through the clay creature, and doing the same to the other, and freeing his black sword. Is that the best you've got? Better look again, Deidara said as the halves of the clay creatures that are still connected by the clay string attacked Shin. No problem, said Shin as he dodged the creature's attacks. He didn't see another clay string extend from the main one and connected to the clay parts that he choked off, bringing them to life and joining the attack. Still no problem, he said as he slashed the clay creatures only for more strings to extend from the main one and connect to the pieces on the ground and resume fighting. No problem at all, he continues to say as he slashes at the clay creatures with his white sword, only to have the same thing happen again. Will you stop slashing them? Karen yelled in annoyance as Shin was surrounded. And now? Deidara muttered as 4 large clay grasshoppers sprang from the ground and latched onto his elbows, knees and wrists. Ah, get him off. Shin yelled as he tried to shake off the grasshoppers, but then they detonated. Shin. Sasuke called out as he jumped from the tree branch at Deidara, but was blocked by the numerous clay creatures. Sasuke. Sujetsu cried out as Sasuke was surrounded. TCH. Sasuke channeled lightning chakra into his blade and began cutting the creatures that jumped at him. Didn't you learn anything from your friend? Deidara mocked as Sasuke was trapped. I'm boxed in. Sasuke thought as the clay creatures in front of him lunged at him, only to be obliterated by an energy wave. Aren't you forgetting about someone? Shin said as he staggered forward. Hey look senpai, he's hurt. Toby pointed out. Yes, it appears that he's reached his limit on how much damage he can take, and since his swords can't absorb anything that puts him at a disadvantage. Deidara concluded. So you know about my swords? Shin asked as every step he takes causes his knees pain. Of course, we wouldn't fight you unprepared. My art is perfectly suitable to dealing with you. Deidara explained as the clay creatures prepare to jump on Sasuke. Shin readies himself to unleash another energy wave when a C1 explosive spider jumped on his wrist and exploded causing Shin to drop his white sword. Damn. Shin muttered as he winced in pain. I might as well take care of Sasuke now, sorry Itachi. Deidara said as all the clay creatures jumped at Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. Sasuke. Sasuke watched in slow motion as the clay creatures closed in on him. Is this it? Is this how it ends? Sasuke braces himself for the inevitable, but he feels a tug at the back of his shirt hauling him back. Jugo catch. Shin said as he throws Sasuke at Jugo who managed to catch him. He fell for it. Deidara thought as all the clay creatures jumped on Shin and covered him with explosive clay. Toby now. Right. Toby said as he pulled several lines of invisible wire, causing the landmines to spring from the ground and surround Shin. I hope you enjoy this, I prepared it especially for you so that you'll understand, art is an explosion. Deidara said as the mines and clay figures exploded at once. Run. Sasuke ordered as the explosion started spreading outwards, but their path was blocked by numerous clay spiders. We're trapped. Sujetsu said as the explosion was getting closer. Sasuke channeled lightning chakra into his right hand, then released several Chidori Senbon at the spiders, rendering them harmless. Go. They resumed their pace until the explosion stopped. As the smoke begins to clear they can see that the forest is gone in the area of the explosion. I think you got him this time senpai. Toby states as he looks around the devastated area from on top of a clay bird. Is he really gone? Sujetsu asks. Karen. Sasuke calls Karen's name. On it. Karen said as she closed her eyes and started concentrating. I sense him. Impossible, there's no way he could have survived that. Sujetsu doubted Karen. Where is he? Sasuke asked. Over there. Karen pointed towards the center of the area where a hand bursts out of the ground. Shin's upper body emerges from the ground and grabbing onto the charred earth, he drags himself completely out of the ground. He turns himself to lie on his back as he catches his breath. That was close. Shin said between breaths, his body was covered in dirt, sweat and burn marks. You're a lot tougher than I gave you credit for. Deidara complimented. Senpai, do you think he's immortal like Haiden senpai? Toby asked. Don't be ridiculous, this guy can't be immortal. Deidara disagreed. Yeah, who the hell wants that? Shin added to the conversation as he lied on the ground staring at the dark sky. Immortality is a joke, I've encountered people who said they're immortal, and you know what I did? I killed them. I mean come on, if you're immortal then how can I kill you? Shin paused for a minute before continuing. But then again they probably never faced someone like me before. Just who the hell are you? Deidara shouted as he was becoming annoyed with Shin. I'm the wrench in everyone's plans. Shin said simply as he started to stand up. You're really an annoying person. Deidara said with a tick on his head. That I am. Shin admitted proudly. Fine then let's see how you deal with this. Deidara said as he slams his palms together and as he parts them he creates a massive clay dragon. Behold my C2 dragon. He announces as he jumps on its back. So it's time for round 2. Shin asked no one in particular as he summoned his swords. I have to finish this fast. Shin thought to himself as his legs felt like jelly. Don't try to act tough, I know you can barely stand. Deidara noted as one of the segments of his C2 dragon's tail withdrew into the next segment. When that happened, its mouth became full, and it opens its mouth to reveal a smaller clay dragon, about the size of the bird Deidara was riding on earlier. "Let's see you dodge this," he says as the C2 dragon spits out the smaller dragon at Shin. "Don't need to," Shin says as he channels chakra into his white sword and swings it forward, creating a crescent energy wave that heads toward the dragon. "Heh." Deidara smirks as his clay dragon dodges Shin's attack. "Dodge it," Shin said in surprise as the dragon continued toward him. He jumped out of the way, but the dragon made a U-turn and continued its course. "It's a guided missile," Shin concluded as he braced for impact, but the dragon was hit with a fireball and exploded. "What?" Deidara said in shock before sensing someone behind him. He turned his head around to see Sasuke in his curse mark level 2 form with a Chidori in his left hand about to pierce him. "Like I let you." Deidara fully turns around and throws several clay balls at Sasuke that turn into spiders. Sasuke merely swings his left arm in front of him and releases several Chidori senbon that pierce the clay spiders and nullify them. But the C2 dragon swings its tail and knocks Sasuke away. "Senpai," Tobi shouts. "Don't worry about him," Suigetsu says as he appears behind Tobi and swings his Kubikirabacho right through Tobi. "Yikes," Tobi said as the blade passed through him. "What the hell?" Suigetsu was surprised that his attack failed. "Normal attacks won't work on him," Jugo told him. "So you finally decided to join in," Deidara said as he eyed Sasuke from on top of his C2 dragon. "Shin, can you still fight?" Sasuke asked while keeping his eyes on Deidara. "Yeah," Shin answered as he dusted himself off. "How much do you think you can take from those bombs?" "I can probably take one more crazy plan," Shin answered. "Then let's go," Sasuke said, and they both jumped high into the air. "Do you honestly believe you can reach me?" Deidara mocked as his C2 dragon spat out another clay dragon. Sasuke weaved through hand signs and called out his attack. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. He unleashed a massive fireball from his mouth at the clay dragon, but it simply dodged it. Shin swung his swords, creating a pressure wave in the form of an X, but it still dodged it. It started heading towards Shin, and as it got close, Shin pulled on some ninja wire that the other end Sasuke had to pull himself away. "Do you think that'll do any good?" Deidara said as two more segments of the C2 dragon's tail shrunk into the other, and it spat out another clay dragon, but this one was packed a more powerful punch. Both of the clay dragons aimed for Shin, but using the ninja wire, he maneuvered himself away from them. "It seems to be working so far," Shin mocked as he continued to outmaneuver the clay dragons. "Why you?" Deidara is becoming increasingly frustrated with Shin, but then he notices two giant shuriken coming at him from the sides. "Like this'll get me," Deidara said as the C2 dragon dodged the shuriken. "Wasn't supposed to." Deidara looks back to Shin and Sasuke in time to see Sasuke swing Shin towards him. So that was their plan. Deidara maneuvered the C2 dragon to the side, but it was immediately hit by the shuriken. "No way." "Gotcha now," Shin said as he tackled Deidara. "Damn," Deidara grunted as Shin raked his arms around him. "Let go." "Nope, now you'll experience what your art feels like," Shin said as Deidara noticed his clay dragons coming towards them. "Are you insane?" Deidara screamed as he struggled to escape Shin's grip. "Yup." Shin smiled as the clay dragons collided with him and engulfed them both in a huge explosion. "Deidara!" Tobi cried out. "That was his plan," Karen shouted in disbelief. "Oh senpai, I knew you would die from bombing," Tobi sobbed. "Shut up, Tobi." Tobi looked up to see Deidara jump out of the smoke. "Senpai, you're alive." "Of course I am," Deidara said. As he skidded across the ground, his Akatsuki cloak was gone. "But where's Shin?" Karen asked, and then she saw something descend from the smoke and hit the ground. "Ah, did that hurt?" Shin said as he lied on his back. "You bastard, what kind of maniac does that?" Deidara asks annoyed. "You're looking at him," Shin responds smiling. "Let's see you smile after this," Deidara says before grabbing some clay from his bag and consuming it using his own mouth. He then spews out a massive amount of clay, and it forms a giant doll in his image. "This is my ultimate creation, my C4. Deidara boasted as the C4 started to swell up. With his Sharingan, Sasuke saw a large buildup of chakra. Suigetsu, Karen, Jugo run as far away from here as possible. Sasuke warned urgently. "Too late," Deidara said as his C4 ruptures, releasing a white cloud. "No." Sasuke screamed in his head as he saw with his Sharingan the chakra spreading out rapidly. "There's no way we can outrun that." Karen shrieks, but then she is suddenly lifted off the ground, and before she could say anything she was on the move at an incredible speed. What the hell? She thought as she suddenly stopped and was set down. She looked at the person who carried her, and it was Shin. Shin, did you just? I'll explain later, I need to get the others first. Shin told her as his black sword began to glow, and he disappeared, leaving a trail of dust behind him. He's fast. Karen said out loud as she noticed her surroundings. Just where the heck am I? Shin quickly got back to the others and picked up Sujetsu and dropping him off where Karen was. What the hell just happened? Sujetsu asks Karen, confused. Shin happened. Karen simply told him. Shy Sujetsu was interrupted as something heavy fell on top of him. You goes here, so that only leaves Sasuke-kun. Karen noted with a smirk as she pushed up her glasses. Back at the battlefield, Sasuke blinked in confusion. 1 minute he was telling his team to run, then the next they were all gone. What's going on? He muttered to himself just as Shin appeared in front of him. Sasuke, come on, you're the last one. Shin said urgently, but then fell to his knees. No, not now. He screamed in his head. Now you're both dead. Deidara said as he made a hand sign. Sasuke looked at his arm and noticed that it was disintegrating. What's happening? Sasuke said in horror as the rest of his body started to fade. Sasuke. Shin shouted as he noticed that he too was fading. What the hell is happening to me? He screamed as both him and Sasuke faded away. Deidara took off the device attached to his left eye and looked at the area. I did it, I got rid of both of them. Deidara yelled in victory but then felt something ram through his chest. Ugh. He turned his head around to see Sasuke's Sharingan. You. Deidara said as he lifted his arms only to have a white sword run through his wrists. Don't forget about me. Shin said in front of him. Heh. Did you honestly think I would fall for your Jinjutsu? Deidara said from behind Sasuke as the one that got run through started to dissolve into clay. Huh? Both Shin and Sasuke said in unison as suddenly they were surrounded by a dome of clay. Ever since my encounter with Itachi, I have trained my left eye to see through Jinjutsu. Deidara said as his body started to bloat. And I created this technique to specifically deal with the Sharingan. He said as he exploded. Outside the dome, the real Deidara was resting against a tree. Finally got rid of them. He muttered as he leaned his head back and closed his eyes. I wouldn't be so sure. Deidara's eyes snapped open and sees Shin and Sasuke standing a few feet away. Impossible. He lifted his hands and launched clay snakes that wrapped around Sasuke's legs, but Sasuke covers his body in lightning, and the snakes stopped moving. The lightning follows the snake's bodies back to Deidara, and he cuts at the connection. I figured out that your clay is an earth-style jutsu, so my lightning affinity should disable your bombs. Sasuke explained as he approached Deidara. I can also see the chakra of your attack, so I knew what it was. Damn you, damn you. Curse you Uchiha and your Sharingan, always judging my art just like your brother. Deidara yelled at Sasuke. Where is Itachi? Sasuke asked as he approached. That's all you care about. Where your brother is, you won't even acknowledge my art. Deidara said as he ripped off his shirt, revealing a mouth on his chest over his heart that is stitched up. He removes the stitches and feeds the mouth a ball of explosive clay. Dark lines start spreading throughout his body. This is my ultimate art, I'm going to detonate myself. He's insane. Sasuke thought, alarmed. In death I shall become my art itself. No one has seen an explosion of this magnitude that'll leave a scar on the earth itself. Deidara said as it started spreading through his veins. I'll receive more adoration for my art than anyone else. Deidara continued as the veins started receding into the mouth on his chest. Sorry Toby. Sasuke turned around to run, but Deidara said, the explosion will cover 10 kilometers, so there is no way you can outrun it, especially with the condition your friend is in. He motioned to Shin, who was in pretty bad shape. Tremble in despair, cower in awe, because my art. Deidara trailed off as only the outline of his body was left besides a dark ball on his chest which started to crack. Sasuke. Shin called out to Sasuke. Is an explosion. Deidara finished as the mouth on his chest detonated. Meanwhile Karen, Sujetsu and Jugo were waiting for Sasuke and Shin to arrive when they saw a bright light from where Sasuke and Shin were fighting Deidara. What was that? Sujetsu asked. You don't think? Karen trailed off as she was the bright light get bigger and sprouted what looked like arms. However, they aren't the only ones to notice it, as the Sasuke retrieval team are staring right at it. What the hell is that? Kiba said in surprise. It could be a lead, everyone let's go look into it. Kakashi ordered as they begin to head towards the giant light. Back to where Sasuke's team is, they started making their way towards the explosion site, and when they arrived at the edge of the blast radius, they were surprised to see a line of trees stretching out the length of the blast. What the heck? Karen was confused at what she's seeing. Shouldn't that be destroyed? Sujetsu commented as they headed towards the center of the blast, where they saw Sasuke and Shin, who was sitting on the ground panting. Sasuke-kun. Karen called out, gaining the two's attention. Hey. Shin waved at them before wincing. How the hell did you two survive that? Sujetsu asked. Sasuke looked at Shin before answering. He cut the explosion. Come again? Karen asked, not believing what she heard. You heard what he said. I cut the explosion with this beauty right here. He motioned to his black sword. Just what are your swords anyway? Sujetsu asked. Well, this one is Kal. Shin didn't finish as he fell back. Shin. Sasuke went to check on him and sighed in relief when he was just sleeping. Guess he's only human after all. Karen snickered before she suddenly tensed. What's wrong, Karen? Sasuke asked, noticing her tense up. I detect several chakra signatures approaching this location. Karen informed everyone. Then let's move out, Jugo, carry Shin. Sasuke ordered as Jugo picked up Shin as he still held his black sword and placed him on his shoulder, and they left the area. Moments later, the Sasuke retrieval team arrived at the blast zone. What happened here? Kiba commented. And what's with the trees? Naruto pointed out. Kakashi examined the area. There was a battle here. Kakashi pointed out. Between who? Sakura asked. Kakashi observed closely a specific spot. Shin and Sasuke were here. They were, Sakura blurted out. Yes. Kakashi confirmed as he bit his thumb and did a couple hand signs before slamming his palm on the ground and summoning Pakin. Yo. Pakin greeted, raising his paw. Pakin, I need you to pick up Sasuke scent. Kakashi ordered. Gotcha. Pakin agreed as he started sniffing the area Kakashi pointed to. This way. Pakin said as he led the way. We're coming for you, Sasuke. Naruto thought as he and his team followed Pakin. We're being followed. Karen informed everyone as she sensed the chakra signatures from earlier following them. What should we do? Jugo asked as suddenly Shin's black sword started glowing before slipping from his hand. It embedded itself into the ground, and cracks started forming towards the direction where their pursuers were. What now? Karen groaned as the cracks started to collapse, forming a deep crater that continues along the path of the rest of the cracks. I believe that should stop our pursuers. Jugo commented as Shin's black sword disappeared. Then let's keep moving. Sasuke ordered as they continued on their way. Back with Naruto's group, they were following Pakin when Hinata's eyes suddenly widened. Stop. She yelled, making everyone stop. What is it, Hinata-chan? Naruto asks worriedly. There's something heading for us. Hinata stated, and as soon as she said that, cracks started forming underneath them, and the ground started to collapse underneath them. Run. Kakashi ordered as they jumped from the collapsing ground and headed in the opposite direction. It's catching up to us. Pakin noted from Kakashi's shoulder. Damn, we can't outrun it. Kiba said as the cracks started to close in on the fast. Hinata activated her Byakugan and saw something odd about the ground. She suddenly stopped, which caused everyone to look at her in shock. Hinata, what are you doing? Sakura shouted in disbelief. Come on, Hinata, we have to move. Kiba told her, but Hinata gave him a determined look. Hinata-chan? Naruto looked at Hinata. Are you sure? He said mentally. Don't worry. She told Naruto as she turned to face the incoming cracks. She took a deep breath before doing a Juken strike on the ground and causing it to collapse horizontally almost the entire width of the blast area, effectively stopping the cracks' advance. Incredible, I didn't know you could do that. Kiba stared in awe at Hinata's display of skill. Very impressive, Hinata, how did you know that would work? Kakashi questioned in an impressed tone as he observed the fissure Hinata made. Well, I noticed with my Byakugan that there was a force underneath the surface that was causing the ground to start collapsing in a domino effect, so I just made a space to disrupt that flow. Hinata explained bashfully. Wow, you're amazing, Hinata. Naruto complimented Hinata, feeling very proud of her. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Hinata thanked Naruto shyly. It felt very good to be praised by her mate. Sakura looked at the fissure Hinata made. This is no small feat. Sakura mentally noted as she went to inspect the fissure. She touched the edge and immediately pulled it back when she felt a shocking sensation. Electricity. Sakura whispered as she noticed some signs of lightning across the edge. Did she use a lightning-style jutsu combined with her Juken to do this? Sakura thought before standing up. I never knew Hinata was capable of something like this. Sakura balled up her fists. Am I being left behind again? She mentally asks herself as it started to rain, unaware that Sai was watching. Kakashi concluded that they couldn't follow the trail, for it would take too long to go around the collapsed earth, and by the time they did the rain would have washed away the scent. So they found a spot where Captain Yamato used his wood-style technique to create a house for everyone to sleep comfortably. Man, this is how you camp out. Kiba said as he laid on his sleeping bag. A lantern is placed nearby to illuminate the room. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Naruto agreed as he laid down on his sleeping bag with his hands behind his head. Man, I wish we had Captain Yamato whenever our team goes out on missions. We never have to worry about finding shelter if he can summon a house on a whim. Kiba said while grinning. Yes, Captain Yamato would certainly make finding shelter easy. Shino complimented. Thanks. Yamato smiled bashfully. You're certainly receiving plenty of compliments today. Kakashi noted. Meanwhile in another room Sakura and Hinata are spreading out their sleeping bags as they prepare for bed. Captain Yamato is really amazing to be able to do this. Hinata told Sakura as she sat on her sleeping bag. Yeah, I was amazed the first time he did this and best of all we have our own room. Sakura said giggling. Hinata joined her as she started taking off her jacket and change into her nightwear. It was then that Sakura's eyes widened at seeing Hinata's figure. Her breasts are huge and are straining against her mesh armor, much bigger than Ino's and possibly bigger than Tsunade's. Her impressive bust made her already slim waistline look even slimmer. Hinata removed her pants, revealing her fabulously sensority legs, with black lace panties that show off her nicely shaped butt. Sakura stared with her jaw dropped. Hinata looked like a character from one of Jiraiya's erotic novels. Since when did Hinata had a body like that? She thought to herself as she watched Hinata put on an oversized t-shirt and short shorts. Hinata noticed Sakura staring and blushed. Sakura-san, why are you staring? Hinata asked bashfully. Hinata, you have an incredible body. Sakura told her still in awe. I do? Hinata asked. She knew that her body was more developed than other women, even before Naruto marked her, and she went through her transformation. Her fellow vixens always said that she had the biggest breasts in all the world, even bigger than Tsunade's, especially in her vixen form. Yeah. Sakura said as she got close to Hinata and placed her hands on her shoulders. Hinata, you have to tell me your secret. A secret? Hinata asked, feeling uncomfortable. Yes, how did you get your breasts to be so big? Is it your diet? Some special technique maybe? Sakura questioned as she brought her face closer to Hinata. Hinata was blushing furiously at Sakura's questions. I please excuse me for a minute, she said as she quickly made her way out the door. Sakura sighed before flopping down on her sleeping bag. Maybe I went too far, she said out loud as she stared at the ceiling. Outside the room Hinata was leaning against the door and sighed. Are these really that desirable? She said as she cuped her breasts in her palms. Well, Naruto-kun certainly likes them a lot. She then thought of how Naruto plays with her breasts whenever they make love, which causes her body to get hot. Katsu and Katsuo love to snuggle against them too. She smiles when she thought of her sons. Ordinarily she would leave a shadow clone behind so that her sons won't notice her missing, but on higher rank missions, she can't risk her clone disappearing on them if she gets knocked out. Like her fellow vixens, Hinata had to stay with her kits for almost 3 weeks since they can't thermoregulate since they were born foxes, but they used that time to bond with their kits. She let out an audible sigh. She couldn't believe she was able to hide her pregnancy from her clan, but thanks to a special seal that the main house created to prevent the branch house from spying on them, she was able to prevent her clan from seeing her developing children. However, she couldn't hide her growing stomach as it grew at a faster rate due to her being a fox, so she and her fellow vixens discussed with Naruto that they would leave the village for the remainder of their pregnancy, but on the pretense that they were going on vacation. Hinata smiled fondly as she remembered their vacation. Naruto had been very attentive to their needs, and he barely let them out of bed. She had never seen Naruto so nervous, as he never let them out of his sights, even when he was searching for a den they could live in. Hinata then proceeded to walk down the hall and make her way towards the living room area of the house, which had a wooden table with wooden chairs. She sat on one of the chairs and began to reminisce on the day that set her on the path she was in. Flashback. Hinata took deep breaths as she mentally prepared herself for what she was about to do. Okay, you can do this. Just walk up to him and ask him out, she repeated in her head as she peeked around the corner of a fence to see Naruto walking towards her direction. Who am kidding, I can't do this. Hinata mentally panicked but shook her head and patted her face. No, you can't give up this easily. You have to make a move now or Naruto-kun will never notice you. She thought as she steeled her resolve. She went around the corner but collided with something hard. I'm so sorry, I wasn't looking where I was going. She immediately apologized, casting her gaze down. Don't worry Hinata-chan, it's okay. Hinata looked up at the person she bumped into and realized it was Naruto. And Naruto-kun. That's my name. Naruto replied smiling. Hinata's face turned red as she realized how close she was to Naruto. He noticed her reddening face and became concerned. Hinata-chan, are you alright? He asks her as he placed his right hand against her forehead, causing Hinata's face to turn a deeper shade of red. You don't feel hot, but your face is really red though. Hinata stood there unable to move as she looked into Naruto's eyes. He has really nice eyes. She thought as she continued to stare deep into them. She then noticed a very pleasant smell coming from Naruto. Is Naruto-kun wearing cologne? It smells really nice. She thought to herself as her eyelids became heavy. Hinata-chan? Yes. She said softly. Do you want to go get some ramen with me? Hinata's eyes widened as she registered what he just said. You want me to eat with you? Yeah, that's if you want to. Naruto told her. Yes. I would love to. She replied eagerly. Great. Naruto said as he offered his arm to Hinata. Is this what I think it is? Hinata thought as she raped her arms around his, and he led her to the Ichiraku. Yes. It is. She mentally cheered. Flashback end. Hinata smiled at the memory. Even if it was just eating ramen they both enjoyed themselves. She later found out that the pleasant smell was actually his pheromones, and she mentally laughed when she ate more ramen than Naruto and made him drop his appetite since he couldn't keep up with her. And that was before I was pregnant too. She thought to herself while giggling. She then sensed someone's presence behind her and smiled as her fox ears emerged from on top of her head. She felt someone's hands on her shoulders and start to massage them. She gave a pleased sigh as she felt her shoulders start to relax. How does that feel? It feels wonderful Naruto-kun. Hinata said as she leaned her head back and let out a moan. Naruto smiled before leaning his head down and capturing Hinata's lips in a heated kiss. Hinata quickly got into the kiss as she brought her arms up to wrap around Naruto's head. Naruto licked Hinata's lower lip, asking for permission to enter her mouth. Hinata complies as she opens her mouth and her tongue darts out meeting his. As their tongues battle for dominance their bodies start to get hot, they eventually part due to lack of air, leaving a thin line of saliva connecting their mouths. Hinata-chan, if I didn't know any better I'd say you were trying to tempt me with the way you're dressed. Naruto noted as he stared at Hinata's voluptuous legs and breasts. And what if I am she teasingly asked as she rose from her seat to stand in front of Naruto. Then I'll have to punish you. Naruto said huskily as his fox ears emerged from on top of his head. Oh I would like to see you try. Hinata purred as her eyes became slits. Care to take this outside? He asks as he leans his forehead against hers. Let's. Hinata replies as they make their way out the door. 3 hours later Sakura was sound asleep on her side facing the wall when she heard the door to the room open and the sound of footsteps entering the room, but something was off about them. The footsteps were uneven as if the person was having trouble keeping themselves balanced. She also heard a tapping sound along with the footsteps. It sounds the same as when Akamaru walks around the house, and his claws made this tapping noise every time he stepped on the wooden floor. She opens her eyes slightly and sees the shadow of what she assumes is an animal, since it has pointed ears and a long muzzle. I must be dreaming. She thought as she attempted to go back to sleep, but then she heard a moan which causes her eyes to snap open and sees the shadow of the animal throw its head back, revealing it to be female due to its large breasts. Wait a minute, animals don't have breasts that big. Especially ones that look human. She thought as she watched the shadow fall forward and disappearing behind her shadow. She contemplated turning around and after gathering some courage, she slowly turned around and came face to face with the sleeping form of Hinata. What the? Sakura thought as she sits up and rubs her eyes. She looks at Hinata again and she's sleeping peacefully in her sleeping bag. Was it just a dream? Sakura said out loud before laying back on her sleeping bag. She looked at Hinata and noticed the content smile on her face. She must be having a good dream. Sakura whispered before going back to sleep. Meanwhile. So Sasuke has taken down Deidara. A man with orange hair and multiple piercings on his face asks. Yes, although he had help from his team, more specifically Shin. Another figure says as he's adjusting his gear. We've lost someone who had an advantage over Sasuke's ace. A woman with blue hair and a piercing on her lower lip asks. Indeed, but now that he's no longer with us, Sasuke's team remains unchecked. The unknown figure says as he finishes getting ready. Where did Sasuke find such an individual? The woman asks out loud. The world is vast, there are plenty of strong individuals that chose to remain hidden. The man with orange hair responds to her. In any case, we have to be prepared to deal with him. I don't believe Sasuke is truly in command of someone as powerful as him. The unknown figure says. And what if he is? What do you intend to do about it, Toby, or should we refer to you as Madara now? The orange figure asks. Madara will do. I think it's time to end THS charade and claim back my power. Madara declares. Conan, Pain, you two continue gathering the Jinchuriki. I'll see what I can do about Sasuke. He told them before leaving as lightning flashes in the distance. The next morning the rain has finally subsided and the Sasuke retrieval team was able to continue their mission. Can you smell anything, Pakin? Kakashi asks. No, the rain has washed away the scent. Pakin told him. I see, well thanks anyway. Kakashi thanked the small dog. So now we're back to square one. Yamato said. Then let's continue searching for Itachi then. Naruto said with determination, and this will make it easier. He made a hand sign and several Naruto clones appeared. Everyone nodded as they continued their search for Itachi. In another location, Sasuke's team is also on the move. Shin has now fully recovered and back to his old self. Ah, it's great to be alive. Shin said happily. Hey, you still haven't told us about your swords. Karen reminded Shin. Oh yeah, then let me enlighten you. Shin said as he began to explain. This lovely lady right here is Blanc. He summoned his white sword. And this beauty rider is Noir. He summoned his black sword in his other hand. Noir has the ability to absorb any physical impact and render cause of it useless. So when you blocked my attack, you were absorbing it? Jugo asked. Yep, and no matter how much pressure you exert, it would be as if you aren't doing anything. Shin said smiling. I can also use that energy to amplify my physical abilities, like give myself super speed. Wait, so that's how you managed to carry all of us to safety so quickly? Karen realized. Yep. Shin smiled. But what did you absorb if the bombs didn't physically touch Noir? Sujetsu asked. It isn't just limited to physical touch, Noir can absorb the vibrations of the explosions. He explained further. Wow, and what about Blanc? Karen asks, amazed at what Noir can do. Blanc can absorb energy like chakra and chakra-based attacks and adds it to my own. Shin explained. It's just like Samahata. Sujetsu noted. But unlike that sword, Blanc can magnify the chakra it absorbs before it transfers it to me, so even if it absorbs a tiny amount of chakra, it will strengthen it by a lot. Shin told them. It also allows me to use the attacks it absorbs like Sasuke's Chidori, and I can use the chakra it absorbs to heal my injuries. He further explained, making all their eyes including Sasuke's widen in shock. There are other abilities these swords have, but I'll show them to you later since it appears we've found our target. Shin motioned ahead of them where Itachi Uchiha was waiting for them. They landed in front of him, and Sasuke cautiously approached him. Sasuke. Itachi called his brother's name before Sasuke vanished and appeared in front of him with his sword plunged through his gut. That was fast. Shin said in a neutral tone, but then Itachi dispersed into a flock of crows and revealed that Itachi was behind it a couple feet away. You've improved. Itachi noted. You have no idea. Sasuke told him in a neutral tone as he prepared to fight. Let's not do this here, there's a special place not too far from here. I'll be waiting for you there. Itachi told him before dispersing into crows. One of them motioned for them to follow. Let's go. Sasuke ordered as they all followed the crow. Along the way they saw Naruto coming towards them. Sasuke. Naruto called his ex-teammate's name before Sasuke rushed towards him and punched him in the stomach, causing him to disappear in a puff of smoke. It's a shadow clone, we have to move quickly. Sasuke said urgently. In another location the real Naruto received the dispelled clone's memories. I've located Sasuke. He informed everyone. Follow me. He began to lead everyone on the direction his clone used to be. He's making good use of the experience sharing ability of the shadow clones, but when did he figure that out? Kakashi asked himself in his head as he follows Naruto. Sasuke and his team arrived outside of what appear to be ruins. What is this place? Karen asks. It was hideout that was once used by the Uchiha. Everyone turned to the direction they heard the voice and see an Akatsuki member and Itachi's partner Hoshigaki kiss him. Itachi is waiting for you up ahead, but from this point on Sasuke goes alone. Fine by me. Sasuke says as he walks ahead with Shin right behind him. I said Sasuke goes alone. Kisame repeated as he puts Amahata between Shin and Sasuke. I want to see the fight. Shin says smirking. Itachi doesn't want anyone to interfere. Kisame tells him as his hand grips Amahata tightly. I'm just going to watch. Shin says calmly. Not going to happen. Kisame says as he prepares to strike. Shin, stay here with everyone else. Sasuke ordered. Aw, but it'll get boring and these guys are no fun. Shin whined, motioning to the others. If you come with me then you'll miss out on the fun that's coming after us. Sasuke informed him, making him smile. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Shin thanked him as Sasuke continued to head deeper into the hideout. Hey Sasuke. Sasuke turns his head to the side to look at Shin. Show Itachi that younger siblings are superior to older siblings. Shin tells him as he pumps his fist forward. Sasuke smirks and continues his path forward. His team watches his retreating back and Karen's eyes widen. I sense multiple chakra signals approaching this location. Which way are they coming from? Shin asks and Karen pointed the way. Let the fun begin. Shin says as he begins heading in the direction Karen pointed. Meanwhile Naruto and his friends have arrived where his clone was and with the help of Pakin, managed to locate Sasuke's scent and follow it. The scent leads this way. Pakin told everyone as they jumped from the tree branches. Hey. Everyone stoked when they saw Tobi standing on a tree branch in front of them. Get out of our way. Naruto demanded as he charged a Rasengan and attacked Tobi, but he just went right through him. He passed right through him, Kakashi thought in surprise. Yeah, no can do, can't have you interfering. Tobi informed them. You can't take us all on. Kiba said. That I can. Everyone's eyes widened as they saw Shin land next to Tobi. Long time no see. Shin waved at them. You. Naruto pointed at Shin. I see you have some unfamiliar faces with you this time. Shin noted as he looked at Hinata, Kiba and Shino. This should be fun. He turned to face Tobi. You sit this one out, I'll take care of this. He told Tobi before jumping down to the forest floor. Alright, how would you like to do this? Do you want to go one-on-one or take me on together? Naruto was about to jump down when Sakura zoomed past him with her fist pulled back. Sakura-chan. I'll make an opening for you to attack. Sakura told him as she threw a punch at Shin. Heh. Shin smirked as he summoned War to block Sakura's punch. Don't you know that won't work? Shin told her as he pushed her back. Then how about this, fang over fang? Kiba announced as he spun around, turning himself into a mini twister that headed towards Shin. Interesting. Shin said as he blocked Kiba with Noir and cancelling his attack. What the hell? Kiba said, surprised that his attack suddenly stopped. Physical attacks are useless against me. Shin told Kiba as he prepared to cut him in half, but Hinata managed to rescue him. Nice save. Shin complimented, but then he was beginning to be covered with bugs. Let's see your swords absorb that. Shino said as Shin was completely covered in insects, but suddenly the insects dispersed from Shin. Impossible. Don't need to use my swords, I love bugs. Shin said. He extended his hand forward and a swarm of insects flew at Shino. And they love me. He can control insects too. Shino was shocked as his own bugs were being turned against him, but they were blocked by Hinata, who used her rotation technique to scatter them. Shino-kun, stay back. Hinata told her teammate as she activated her Byakugan and charged at Shin. Again? Shin asked while raising an eyebrow as he lifted Noir to block Hinata's Juken. You still don't get? Shin cut himself off when he realized that he was being pushed back. No way. Shin was actually putting effort into pushing against Hinata. No way, Hinata's actually doing it. Sakura said in shock. Don't get your hopes up. Shin said as he lifted up Blanc to slash Hinata, but she jumped back. 8 trigrams vacuum palm. Hinata announced as she thrusted her right palm forward, creating a vacuum of air that heads towards Shin, who barely manages to dodge it. That was close. Shin thought to himself, but Hinata quickly closed in and struck him in the stomach with her gentle fist. Ugh. He coughed up blood as he was sent flying back and slammed against a tree. That actually really hurt. He said while holding his stomach. Your body may be able to take outward blows, but even you are vulnerable to internal injuries. Hinata told him as she got into her gentle fist stance. This is nothing. Shin said as Blanc started glowing and he unleashed several energy waves at Hinata. Hinata. Sakura called out in worry, but Hinata's body is suddenly covered in chakra and she starts to spin around to create a dome of chakra that repels Shin's attacks back at him. That won't work. Shin blocked his attacks with Blanc and absorbed their chakra, and because of Blanc's ability to amplify the chakra, he received a huge boost which he used to heal his injuries. "Ah, much better," he said as he saw Hinata close in on him again. "Not this time." He quickly slashed Hinata using Noir. "Hinata!" Kiba shouted in worry. "One down." Shin smirked, but it quickly faded as Hinata disappeared in a puff of smoke. A shadow clone. But where Shin was cussed off when he was struck in the back by a lion head made of chakra. "You left yourself wide open," Hinata told him as she absorbed the chakra from Shin. "No." Shin yelled in his head as he felt all the chakra he gained slip away. Hinata could feel a massive boost in her chakra as she took in Shin's chakra. "This feels incredible," Hinata said to herself as her body was surrounded in an aura of chakra. Shin saw an opportunity as he embedded Noir into the ground which caused it to start crumbling and collapse underneath them. Hinata leaped into the trees and leaving a trail of after images. "I have to take her out first, her abilities are dangerous," Shin thought as Noir started glowing and he vanished. "He's gone," Sakura said as she started looking around. Hinata's instincts detected a threat and because of their link, Naruto sensed it too as Shin appeared behind Hinata and brought down Noir on top of her cutting her in two. "Hinata!" Naruto screamed, horrified that his mate was sliced in two before his eyes. Not falling for it, Shin said he did swung Blanc back to cut Hinata across the chest as the one he cut in two disappeared in a puff of smoke. However, the second Hinata disappeared as well. "I've never fought against an older sister before, but I'll still beat you," Shin said as he looked up to see Hinata sitting on a higher branch. "What do you mean?" Hinata asks. "My personal goal is to defeat all older siblings I meet, and like I explained earlier, I've defeated older brothers, mostly so you're my first big sister," Shin explained. "And I've got to say you're way better than they were." Thank you," Hinata said a little confused at his goals. "Enough talk, let's finish this," Shin said before vanishing. Hinata's senses were on full alert as she tried to detect Shin. Suddenly she brought her leg back while leaning forward to deflect Noir as Shin appeared behind her before he vanished again. "How is he doing this?" Sakura asks no one on particular. "He's moving at an incredible speed," Kakashi explained as lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan. Hinata jumps up as the tree she was on is sliced down the middle. Shin then appears behind her with both his swords held apart. "Gotcha," Shin said as he crossed his swords to form an X, but Hinata suddenly vanished in a purple flash. "No way," he said in disbelief. He then heard the sound of electricity and looked behind him to see Hinata about to strike him with a lightning gentle fist. "Damn." Shin cursed as Hinata struck his back, sending him down onto the ground. That was the Flying Thunder God technique. Hinata knows it too, Kakashi thought in shock. He looks at where Shin hit the ground and notices that his body is unmoving. Is he dead? Kakashi thought as he noticed a glowing outline of a fox head on Shin's back. Is that the seal she used to mark him? Kakashi thought as Hinata landed next to Shin and picked up his swords before placing them away from his body. "Why can't I move?" Shin asked no one in particular as he struggled to move his body. "I added some lightning chakra into my Juken to send a continuous electrical shock through your muscles, causing them to contract uncontrollably," Hinata explained as she reached into her ninja pouch and pulled out some rope. "Very clever," Shin told her as Hinata came behind him and crouched down to tie his arms. "But you made a mistake." "What?" Hinata asked cautiously. "I don't need to hold my swords to use them," Shin told her as Blanc started to rise into the air before flying towards Hinata. She jumped away as Blanc stabbed Shin's leg. "Ha! You missed," Kiba mocked. "Did I?" Shin asked as he started to move. "Impossible, you should still be paralyzed for several more minutes," Hinata said, shocked. Blanc absorbed the lightning chakra, Shin said as he removed Blanc from his leg and stood up. "Thanks for the lightning, by the way." "What?" Hinata blinked, not understanding. "This," Shin said as Blanc started being covered in lightning. "He can use lightning chakra nature," Hinata said, shocked as Shin lifted Blanc into the air and released a pulse wave of lightning around him. Hinata acted quickly and used her rotation to deflect the wave, but the others weren't so lucky. "Ugh." Naruto groaned as electricity coursed through his body. "And now we're done to one," Shin said as he pointed Blanc towards Hinata. "You'll pay for what you did to my friends," Hinata threatened as she got into her gentle fist stance. "If you want to make me pay, then stop holding back," Shin told her, making Hinata's eyes widen. "Don't look so surprised, you're much stronger than this, so if you don't want your friends to die." Shin disappeared and reappeared above Naruto with Noir raised up. then fight me seriously," he said as he brought Noir down on Naruto only to be caught between Hinata's thumb and palm. "Don't you ever." Hinata began as Shin tried to slash her with Blanc, but Hinata caught his wrist. "Lay a hand on Naruto-kun." Hinata threatened as her eyes became slits but were barely visible. She lifted her feet off the ground, using Shin's arms as leverage, and kicked him on his chest, sending him back while she backflipped. Shin skid across the dirt before coming to a stop and disappearing. "No, you don't," Hinata said as she too disappeared. "Where did they go?" Naruto asks as he tried looking around, but was limited since he couldn't move his head, but then booming sounds can be heard, and trees were suddenly smashed. "I see them," Sai said as he was lying on his back and briefly saw Hinata and Shin clash before disappearing again and reappearing as they clashed. "How's Hinata-chan?" Naruto asks worriedly. "It's hard to tell, but they appear to be even," Sai told Naruto, but as soon as he said that they heard an odd noise. "What was that?" Naruto asked, having a bad feeling. "No way," Sakura whispered as she was sitting on her knees facing forward and saw the source of the noise. "What is it, Sakura-chan?" Naruto asks her, but then he picks up the scent of blood. "This blood smells like," Naruto trailed off as he feared the worst. "Looks like I win," Shin said as he has Noir run through the right side of Hinata's stomach, blood running down from the tip of the blade. Hinata has her head down, as her left hand was extended out, as she managed to deflect Blanc by hitting Shin's wrist. "You fought well, but in the end let Shin cut himself off as he coughed up blood. He looked down to see Hinata's palm against his chest. "Damn," he muttered as he staggered back, leaving Noir still embedded in Hinata. "At least she won't be able to move since Noir can even absorb the movement from your muscles, making you immobile," Shin thought to himself as he watched Hinata, but then his eyes widened in shock as Hinata started to move and pull out Noir. "That's impossible, how can you still move?" "I figured out how your swords work," Hinata said as her hair was covering her eyes. "Since this one can absorb physical movement and the white one can absorb chakra, they can only do those and not the other." Hinata raised her head to look at Shin with a smile. "So if I covered my hand in chakra I should be able to stop this from absorbing my physical attacks. As for your white one, I simply use physical attacks, but I can still use chakra as long as I don't actually hit the blade like your wrist for example," Hinata said, and Shin dropped Blanc as his wrist was in pain. "Have you forgotten about what I said earlier?" Shin said as Blanc began to rise but was pushed back down when Hinata stepped on it while still holding Noir. "I haven't forgotten, and in case you're wondering I gathered chakra around my wound just in case your sword can stop my muscles from moving," Hinata told him smugly. You got me," Shin admitted, smiling amused as he fell to his knees. "So it appears that he can be stopped after all," Toby said to himself, but then Zetsu emerged from the tree branch he was on. "The battle is over, Sasuke has won," Zetsu told Toby, but everyone else heard it. "Excellent, just as I'd expected," Toby said. "So Sasuke won his battle, that's good, I have to go congratulate him," Shin said as he slipped out a bomb from his sleeve and tossed it in front of himself. The bomb exploded in a bright flash, causing everyone to close their eyes. Shin then opened his left hand, causing Noir to disappear and reappear in his hand, and he used its ability to amplify his leg muscles to increase his speed and escape. When the light ended, Hinata looked to where Shin is and saw that he was gone. "He got away," Hinata said disappointedly as she felt Blanc disappear beneath her foot. A couple miles away, Shin leaned his back against a tree as he was panting. "Damn, she got me good," he said as he reached inside his hoodie and pulled out a clear corked bottle with several pills inside. He pulled the cork out and took out one pill, before putting the cork back on and putting the bottle back in his hoodie and swallowing the pill. "I have to get to Sasuke before," Shin trailed off as he collapsed on the ground. Back with the Sasuke retrieval team, the paralysis has worn off and the group is getting their bearings. "Wow, that was incredible, Hinata," Kiba said with pride for his teammate. "It was nothing," Hinata said bashful. "It was definitely not nothing," Kiba told her. "Yeah, Kiba's right, Hinata-chan, you were incredible. You sent him running for the hills," Naruto complimented his mate. Hinata's face turned red at Naruto's compliment. Despite having a very close relationship, being intimate with one another, and having children with him, Hinata still felt embarrassed when he complimented her. Sakura watched Hinata's reaction to Naruto's compliment and noticed that she acted different with Naruto than everyone else. Did Hinata have feelings for Naruto? Sakura thought as she watched Naruto compliment Hinata more and making her face turn a deeper shade of red. "No doubt about it," she mutters, but she feels a pang in her heart. "What is this?" Sakura thought as she places her hand over her heart. Alright, if everyone's alright now we should get moving. Hinata, can you see ahead so we don't run into anything unexpected? Kakashi asked. Sure. Hinata agreed as she activated her Byakugan, and her eyes widened in surprise at what she saw. I see black flames burning the forest. That must be Amaterasu. Kakashi thought. Alright, everyone move out. He ordered as they headed in the direction of the black flames, and the sky begins to darken. Shin gasps as he lifts his head off the ground. I thought I was in a warm tunnel heading towards a bright light. He said aloud to no one as he got back up and dusted himself off. Well, I'm glad I took my Dedicine before I kicked the bucket. That Hyuga girl was really strong, and she has huge sensor too. Well, anyway, better go find Sasuke. He told himself before hurrying along. Meanwhile, Naruto's group is closing in on Sasuke's location, but we're blocked by a wall of black flames. Is there a way around this? Naruto asked impatiently. Hinata activated her Byakugan and scanned the area. There doesn't appear to be a way around. She told him sadly. We'll have to wait for a path to open. Kakashi told everyone. It'll be too late by then. Naruto says, frustrated that Sasuke is so close, but he can't reach him. I think I can do something about that, senpai. Yamato said as he clasped his palms together, and the earth in front of them is being pushed up by a wood wall and parts the trees that are consumed by the black flame, making a clear path for them to travel. Alright, Captain Yamato. Naruto cheered as they continued along the path that Captain Yamato provided them. Rain soon started to fall, but they continued on undeterred. When they finally arrived at the ruins, they saw signs of a battle, but the combatants were nowhere to be found. Akin smells around the area and looks at Kakashi. Sasuke was here, his scent is all over the area. Can you track it back to him? Kakashi asks, to which Pakin shook his head. The scent appears to have vanished, it's as if he disappeared. Pakin explains. Naruto looks around the area and then slams his fist against the ground. Damn it, Sasuke, why do you keep slipping away? Sakura looks at Naruto and she couldn't stand to see him like this. She smiles and opens her mouth to say something, but someone beats her to it. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we'll find him. Hinata assures him as she walks towards him and kneels next to him. We just need to keep looking. She tells him with a gentle smile as she places her right hand over his. Naruto looks at Hinata and smiles. Thanks, Hinata-chan, you're right, I can't give up. I'll just have to keep trying. You're welcome, Naruto-kun, and I'll be there with you so you won't have to do this alone. Hinata told him as she gently squeezed his hand. Sakura stared wide-eyed, the pang in her chest is back. Even as the rain hit her face, Sakura didn't register it. Her mind was going over Naruto and Hinata's conversation. It's just like what I told him back when Sasuke left the village. She thought, and then she recalled Hinata's battle with Shin. Hinata is a lot stronger and more skilled than I am, I'm just holding Naruto back. She thought as tears started to run down her face, but were masked by the rain. After concluding that Sasuke couldn't be located, the Konoha group decided to find shelter before reporting back to the Leaf. Captain Yamato created another wooden house, and everyone got settled in. Later that night, when everyone else was fast asleep, Sakura snuck out of the house to do some training. She practiced the taijutsu Tsunade taught her against some boulders, smashing them to pieces and maneuvering through the falling pieces. She then gathered the pieces and threw them into the air and attempted to catch one of them, but despite catching a few of them, she couldn't catch the majority. She kept trying over and over again to catch them, but she was nowhere near fast enough. She tried using shadow clones to help her, but she could only create 3 clones, and they still didn't help her catch them all. Eventually her chakra was depleted and her clones disappeared. She fell to her knees and was pelted by the falling rocks. She was panting hard as she started recalling how she was easily beaten by Shin. She remembered how he mocked her and called her weak. Sakura grit her teeth as she stood back up and began to practice her taijutsu by punching the air. You're pathetic. Shin's words echoed in her mind as she continued practicing. You're so weak, I'm surprised you're not dead yet. Sakura began jumping across the trees to work on her agility. I have to get stronger, I have to help Naruto bring back Sasuke-kun. She told herself as she pushed herself harder. You're too busy thinking about your precious Sasuke-kun to take anything seriously. Sakura suddenly stops and lands on the ground. You're pretty easy to read, which makes sense why everyone is walking circles around you. That's pathetic. Sakura then recalls how Ino is now beating her in training and how Hinata was able to actually beat Shin. Even though you were trained by one of the legendary Sannin, there's still nothing special about you. Sakura's body starts trembling as she falls on her hands and knees. The only thing you might actually be useful for is as a baby factory, but who would want to breed with a useless girl like you? I feel bad for any future kids you have since they'll be stuck with your useless DNA. Shin's laugh echoed in her mind, and she finally broke down. I can't do it, I can't become strong. And if I can't get stronger, what use am I to anyone, especially to Naruto? Sakura says out loud as she remembers how Naruto was hanging around Ino and his interaction with Hinata. You're better off with them than you are with me, she said, defeated as sob rocked her body. What makes you so sure? Sakura's head shoots up and looks back to see Naruto standing next to a tree. And Naruto? Sakura was surprised to see him, but then she realized the state she was in and quickly got up. What are you doing here? She asked as she started wiping her tears. I wanted to do some training, I guess you had the same idea, Naruto said sheepishly as he tried to lighten the mood. If you want you can have this spot, I'll look for another one. Sakura told him while still having her back to him and started to leave. Wait, Sakura-chan. Naruto called out to her and made her stop. What? Sakura replied a little coldly. Do you want to train with me? Naruto asks. I don't think I would be much of a training partner, Sakura tells him without looking back. That's ridiculous, you're the perfect training partner, Naruto tells her honestly. Sakura smiles slightly at his compliment, but she quickly frowns. Fine, if you're so insistent then I'll train with you. Sakura agreed as she turned around to face Naruto. So what do you want to work on? How about we work on improving my dodging, and since Bachan taught you how to avoid attacks very well, then you're the perfect person to help me, Naruto says smiling. Alright, but I'm going to hold back a little bit so I don't accidentally hurt you, Sakura tells him as she gets into her taijutsu stance. Don't hold back, give me everything you've got, Naruto tells her. Are you crazy? What if you can't dodge my hits in time and you get seriously hurt? Sakura asks shocked. Naruto has been on the receiving end of her punches before, so he should know what he's getting himself into. I'm dead serious, Sakura-chan, our enemy isn't going pull any punches, so I don't want you to either, Naruto told her. Sakura saw the serious look on Naruto's face and sighed. Fine, but don't blame me if I seriously hurt you. Don't worry, even I get seriously hurt I have you here to fix me up, Naruto assures her, smiling confidently. Taka, Sakura said as she charged forward, gathering chakra into her right fist. She throws a right hook, but Naruto leans his head to the left, making Sakura miss. The air pressure of her fist blasted several trees behind her. Wow, Sakura-chan, that was amazing, Naruto tells her, sounding impressed. That was nothing special, Sakura tells him as she continues her attack. She's surprised that Naruto managed to dodge that. Nothing special, Sakura-chan, you can do things I probably can never do, Naruto tells her as he dodges her punches. Like what? Sakura asks as she switches from punches to kicks. Well, for one, you're a lot smarter than I am. Naruto starts off as he dodges one of Sakura's kicks that easily shatters a tree behind him. Book smarts can only get you so far, Sakura tells him as she starts getting a little frustrated that Naruto is dodging her attacks. But you need book smarts to help you understand how to do certain things and improve your skills, which brings me to my second point. You're an amazing medical ninja. I would bet you're better than Bachan now, Naruto tells her. No, I'm nowhere near Lady Tsunade's level, Sakura said in frustration as she suddenly slams her palm together in front of her, creating a shockwave that knocks Naruto back and over some bushes. Realizing what she did, Sakura quickly rushes to his aid. Naruto, are you okay? She asks worriedly as she reaches the bushes and sees him lying on a pile of rocks. I'm okay, these rocks broke my fall, ow. Naruto groans in pain as he tries to move himself into a comfortable position. Here, let me help you. Sakura extends her right hand out, to which Naruto takes, and she hauls him to his feet. Are you okay? Other than my back pain, I'm alright, Naruto told her. Turn around and let me take a look, Sakura tells him, to which he complies. Take off your jacket, she orders, and Naruto obeys. She gathers chakra to her hands and places her palms on his back. How does that feel? A little better, thanks, Sakura-chan, Naruto tells her gratefully as his back pain begins to subside. Can you go a little lower? Sure. Sakura trails her hands down his back. She couldn't help but feel his muscles. His muscles feel hot, Sakura thought as she started feeling hot. Does it hurt anywhere else? My chest hurts a little, he said with a hint of mischief as he turned around. Sakura's face turned completely red as she saw Naruto's muscular chest. She slowly places her hands on his chest and slowly started to caress it. His chest is so hard and strong. She thought as she trailed her hands down to his abs. The feeling of his abs against her hands causes Sakura to shiver a bit. Her nose picks up a very pleasant smell that causes her breathing to become erratic. I never knew Naruto smelled this good before. She thought to herself as she begins to lean from side to side. Naruto grabs Sakura's shoulders to help steady her. Are you okay, Sakura-chan? Naruto asks, knowing full well what was wrong with her. Yeah, just felt dizzy there for a minute. Sakura reassures him as the pleasant smell starts to get stronger. Her body starts to lean into the source of the smell, her eyes half closed. Sakura-chan. Sakura fully opens her eyes and realizes that she was leaning on Naruto's chest. Wow. Sakura pushes herself away from Naruto, but in doing so she loses her balance and falls back. Sakura-chan. Naruto reaches out to grab her hand and pulls her back to him. Are you alright? Sakura lifts her head from his chest to stare into his deep blue eyes. Naruto has such nice eyes. She thought to herself as she rests her head against his strong chest. His heartbeat is very soothing. Naruto smiles as he holds gently. Hey Sakura-chan. I'm very lucky to have you as my teammate, Naruto tells her sincerely. Sakura looks up at him with wide eyes. How can you say that? What do you mean? Naruto asks. After the way I treated you back at the academy and even after we became genin. Sakura said as her eyes were filled with tears. Hey, we were kids back then and I did kinda deserved it with how I acted. Naruto assured her, but Sakura refused to see it that way. Naruto, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sakura apologized as tears started to run down her cheeks. What are you apologizing for, Sakura-chan? You did nothing wrong. Naruto was a little confused at Sakura's sudden behavior. I'm sorry, I'm so weak. Sakura yells in anguish as she buries her head against Naruto's chest, finally letting out what she has been feeling since her first encountering with Shin. Hey, you're not weak, Sakura-chan. Yes, I am. Sakura cries as she remembers Shin's words and how much stronger Ino and Hinata have become. I'm no longer fit to be a shinobi, I can't support you like I promised. I'm sorry, Naruto, but if I continue to go with you on missions then I'll get you killed. Naruto now understands why Sakura acting strange. It was because of their encounter with Shin. Sakura-chan, look at me. Sakura raises her head to look at Naruto. You won't get me killed, Sakura-chan, on the contrary, if it wasn't for you I'd probably be dead already. He tells her, smiling. Sakura lets Naruto's words sink in and realizes that he's right. But what if I can't save you? Sakura-chan, do you want to know why I keep getting stronger? Naruto asks, to which Sakura nods. It's so I can protect my precious people from anything. Naruto then places his right hand against Sakura's face. And you're one of my most precious person, Sakura-chan. He tells her before leaning his head and kissing Sakura full on the lips. Sakura's eyes widen at the sudden kiss. Why is Naruto kissing me? Sakura screams in her head, but then her eyes start to close and soon she starts kissing him back. Naruto mentally smiles as he licks Sakura's lower lip, asking for permission to enter her mouth. Sakura complies as she opens her mouth to allow Naruto to deepen the kiss. Their tongues fought for dominance as Sakura raises her hands to cup Naruto's face. Naruto lowers his hands toward Sakura's rear and gives it a firm squeeze which causes Sakura moan in the kiss. Sakura runs her fingers through Naruto's blonde locks and digging her nails in his scalp. She was so into the kiss that she doesn't notice red chakra bubbling out of Naruto's body and begins to cover them both. I can't stop kissing Naruto, his kisses are so good. Sakura thought as she hungrily kisses Naruto. Naruto was over the moon, the girl he had a huge crush on when he was in the academy, the girl that wanted nothing to do with him, the girl that was crazy about Sasuke, was kissing him with such passion and hunger that it was as if she has been deprived of something that she needs to live. Don't get ahead of yourself, this is just the start. Naruto thought as he parted from Sakura and leaving a thin trail of saliva connecting their mouths. Naruto then starts trailing kisses down Sakura's neck and stops just above her collarbone. He nibbles that spot causing Sakura to moan loudly. Naruto smiled at this and places a lingering kiss on the spot he nibbled and pulls back. The red chakra begins to recede back into Naruto, but some of it recedes into Sakura. Naruto stares into Sakura's half-lidded eyes as he gently caresses the right side of her face. Sakura-chan, let me be your strength. Was Sakura's response. She was still feeling the effects of the kiss. Let's help each other get stronger. We've been training on our own for far too long. We need to work together if we want to have any chance of bringing Sasuke back to the village. Naruto tells her. I know that if you were with me I can get a lot stronger, and I can make you stronger too, Sakura-chan. He brings his other hand up to cup her face. Sakura-chan, let me help you. Naruto then dips his head to capture Sakura's lips in a heated kiss before parting. I will give you more kisses if you do. Sakura thought about his offer. Naruto can definitely help her get a lot stronger, and the kisses only sweetened the deal. Are you sure I won't get in your way? She asked timidly. Not at all. Okay. Okay what? Naruto teased. I'll train with you, Baka. Sakura said, smiling slightly. Naruto's smile grew. You won't regret it. You better not. Sakura said before pulling Naruto into another kiss. A few hours later in another location, Sasuke is looking out at the ocean, his mind playing back what he has learned in the past couple hours. A couple feet behind him stood Madara Uchiha and his teammates. So you got your butt kicked? Karen asked with a smug look. Shut up. Shin told her. Ever since he told them what happened, Karen has been rubbing it in his face. Haha, how does it feel like to lose for once? Karen continued to mock. Why you, Shin began to say, but then noticed that Sasuke has turned around. From this point on we are Team Taka, and our goal is the elimination of the Leaf Village elders Kaharu Utatane, Hamura Mitakata and Danzo Shimura. Sasuke informed them, his Sharinga activated. Looks like we're going to visit the Leaf Village. Shin said as he stretched. The next day in the Leaf Village, Naruto's group has made it back to the village and delivered their report to Tsunade. So your mission was a failure? Tsunade said, staring at the group of shinobi in her office. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Kakashi confirmed. Tsunade sighed. At least you all made it back. Judging from your report, that's all that matters given who your opponent was. It wasn't a total loss, Milady. Kakashi said. Oh yes, that. She focused her gaze on Hinata. It appears we found an advantage against Shin. Hinata cast her gaze down as her cheeks turned red. She didn't like the attention. Tsunade chuckled a bit before dismissing everyone but Kakashi. So did anything odd happen during your mission? Yes. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. What is it? Hinata can also use the Flying Thunder God technique. Tsunade was visibly shocked to hear this. Her two Kakashi nods. What is going on here? First Naruto, Ino and now Hinata. She looked at her first apprentice. Shizune, I need you to get me Hiashi Hyuga right away. Yes, Milady. Shizune hurried out the door. We need to get to the bottom of this. Tsunade said to Kakashi as she was worried that the situation was going to escalate. Meanwhile Naruto was making his way towards the Yamanaka flower shop. He wanted to see Ino and tell her all about his mission. But when he got to the shop he was disappointed to find Ino's mother tending the register. He opened the front door and stepped inside the shop. Oh hello Naruto, what can I do for you? Mrs. Yamanaka asked. She knew of what Naruto had inside him, but knew better than to believe that Naruto was the fox itself. Oh is Ino around? Naruto asked nervously. Mrs. Yamanaka smiled knowingly. I'm sorry Naruto, but Ino left on a mission yesterday. She saw Naruto visibly deflated hearing that, and it confirmed her suspicions. But I believe she told me she would be back today. She told him, which cheered him up. Okay thanks. Mrs. Yamanaka suddenly had an idea. Naruto, would you like to join us for dinner? I'm pretty sure Ino will be back and you two can see each other. Oh, I wouldn't want to impose. Naruto told her. Nonsense, my husband is out on a mission also, so it would have been just the two of us anyway. Mrs. Yamanaka assured him. Okay thanks, I'll be back later then. Naruto thanked her as he made his way out the door. Oh my, he really must like Ino. Could they already be dating? Mrs. Yamanaka pondered. Beneath the village. Are you certain of this? A man with bandages covering part of his face asks. Yes, Lord Danzo. Hyuga Hinata was using the fourth Hokage's famed jutsu. Sai reported. So with the Jinchuriki and the Yamanaka girl, that makes 3 people who know the jutsu besides the fourth Hokage. Danzo ponders. It will be difficult to monitor the Hyuga, especially within her clan's compound. So we'll focus on the Jinchuriki and the Yamanaka. Yes, Lord Danzo. Sai bowed before taking his leave. Naruto, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, a couple miles outside the village, Team Asuma is resting at a roadside tea shop, enjoying a momentary pause in their journey before heading back to the Leaf. Hurry up you 3, I want to make it to the village before nightfall. Ino complained as she tapped her right foot impatiently. What's the hurry, Ino? Shikamaru asked as he tried to enjoy his tea in peace. Yeah, I want to savor these delicious sweets. Choji said as he took a bite of said sweet. The problem is that Ino suddenly froze as her nose picked up a familiar scent. Azuma noticed this. What's wrong, Ino? Ino exited the tea shop and looked down the road to see a familiar person. Ino stands outside the tea shop staring at the familiar woman with sandy blonde hair tied in 4 ponytails walking down the road towards her. She is wearing mesh armor underneath a sleeveless purple dress with a purple blouse over it, a purple sash around her waist. Hand warmers and leg guards with black ninja sandals. It's the outfit she wore during the 5K summit. A Suna headband was proudly displayed on her forehead. This is a surprise, I didn't expect someone would be waiting for me. The Suna Kunoichi spoke as she stood a few feet in front of Ino. I am not, me and my team were already here when I sensed your chakra. Ino clarified, making sure to not mention that she actually smelled her. No doubt it would sound weird coming out of her and weirder, still that she knew what the Suna Kunoichi smelled like. I see, out on a mission? She asked. Coming back from it actually. Ino said as her teammates and sensei came out of the tea shop. Oh, it's you. Shikamaru said in an annoyed tone. Nice to see you too, little boy. She responded in an equally annoyed tone. Damari, what brings you out here? Asuma asked. I have something to discuss with Lady Tsunade. Tamari told him. Is something going on at Suna? Asuma asked worriedly. No, everything is fine. She assured him. I have some documents for her from the Kazakage. Okay, now that we're all done with exchanging greetings, let's hurry back to the village. Ino said impatiently. Shikamaru sighed in exhaustion. What a drag. He muttered, which earned him a glare from Ino. In a hurry to see your boyfriend. Tamari said teasingly, which caused Ino to blush. So what, at least I got one. Ino defended. And you think I don't? Tamari asked as she folded her arms over her impressive bust that was a little bigger than Ino's. Ha! I pity the poor sap who has to be your boyfriend. Ino mocked. Tamari's eye twitched at that. Oh yeah, well, your man must be very patient to deal with you. Ino grinded her teeth as her anger was beginning to rise. Come again? You heard me? Tamari narrowed her eyes as they both glared at each other. Whoa, calm down ladies. Asuma said while getting between them. Troublesome blondes. Shikamaru muttered as he went back inside the tea house, but then he was suddenly lifted into the air by a strong gust of wind. What was that, little boy? Tamari asked with ever-growing irritation. Hey, knock it off. Shikamaru said as he's flailing his arms around. My pleasure. Tamari said before sending Shikamaru flying high into the air and disappearing into the distance. Serves him right. Ino said with a huff before going back inside the tea house to grab her belongings along with her teammates. Come on, we've already wasted enough time as it is. She told Choji and Asuma before giving them their belongings. Wait, Ino, what about Shikamaru's things? Choji asked. Ino smirked before replying. Don't worry, it'll be right behind him. She threw Shikamaru's backpack in the same direction he went. Asuma let out a whistle as he saw the backpack disappear in the distance. The training with Lady Tsunade must be paying off. He complimented as they all made their way back to the Leaf Village. Leaf Village, Hokage Tower. Lady Tsunade was sitting in her office going over the mission reports from the encounters with Shin. This doesn't make sense. How can Naruto, Ino and Hinata use the famed jutsu of the 4th Hokage, and how long have they known the jutsu? Tsunade pinched her nose in frustration. Is this what my grandfather, granduncle and Saratobi sensei had to deal with? There was a knock on the door. Who is it? Lady Tsunade, I've brought Hiashi Hyuga as you requested. Shizune said from behind the door. Very well then, you may enter. Tsunade said as the door opened and Shizune entered her office followed by Hiashi. You wanted to see me, Lady Tsunade? Hiashi asked. Yes, please have seat. Tsunade gestured to the seat in front of her. Thank you, milady. Hiashi politely thanked Tsunade as he sat down. Hiashi, has Hinata been acting odd as off late? Tsunade asked, getting straight to the point. Odd? Hiashi asked, confused. Yes, for example, is there a change in her daily activities? Or is her behavior different from before? Tsunade asked more thoroughly. Hiashi thought for a moment before answering. Well, now that you mention it, she was feeling unwell a couple of months back. What was wrong with her? Tsunade asks, going into medic mode. She felt nauseous for a while and looked very pale. She was more violent, if you can believe it. Hiashi said, which caused Tsunade's eyes to widen in surprise. Your daughter was being violent? Shizune asked, not believing that sweet and gentle Hinata could be violent. Yes, even the smallest issue seems to set her off. Hiashi said as he rubbed his right wrist. Tsunade noticed this and asked what happened. Well, you see, during training my daughter got a little carried away and nearly broke my wrist. Hiashi cringed as he recalled Hinata's sinister smirk as she grabbed his wrist in a death grip. Also, her physical strength has increased. Can you please explain on that? Tsunade asks. Well, during a spar with Niji, Hinata punched the ground and made a massive crater like you did. Hiashi said, which shocks Tsunade and Shizune. Then Hinata asked to fight all of the Hyuga clan's head family and branch family. Hiashi began. Why would Hinata ask that? Tsunade questioned. I asked her that and she responded that she would tell me after she won. Hiashi told her. What? Tsunade and Shizune said, shocked. I was surprised myself when she said that. Hiashi said. That's a pretty bold thing to say. Tsunade said, her eyes narrowed. I thought it was a joke, but the look in her eyes and the tone of her voice suggested otherwise. Hiashi told them. What happened? Tsunade asked, wanting to know. She defeated all of us. All of you, Shizune said, stunned at such a feat. Yes, she easily defeated the others with hardly any effort. She saved me, Niji and Hanabi for last, attacking us individually as if she testing us. Hiashi explained. Testing you? Tsunade questioned. It was as if she wanted to prove a point which I didn't understand until she told us to attack her at once. That's insane. Tsunade said, this behavior was definitely unlike Hinata. We thought so too, but she insisted, and we did attack her only to be easily repelled, and she took us down quickly and easily. Hiashi concluded. Tsunade and Shizune stared at Hiashi in shock and awe. Tsunade then asked what was the point she was trying to prove. She wanted to prove that she was stronger than all of us combined and could take us down anytime she wanted without hardly trying. She then kept her promise and told us the reason for this battle. Hiashi trailed off as he began to recall. Flashback. Hinata was looking down at her defeated clan members who were scattered around the training field. Groans of pain can be heard around the field as her clan members attempted to move. Hiashi couldn't believe what his daughter had done. The gentle, kind and timid girl he raised just took down every member of the clan without hesitation or mercy. He raised his head to see his daughter standing over him. Her eyes held such strength that he almost felt afraid. Father. Hinata suddenly spoke. I will now tell you the reason why I asked to fight you all. Her voice didn't falter as she spoke, which surprised Hiashi. I did this to make clear where we all stand. What do you mean? He asked nervously. That you are all beneath me. Hinata said in a cold tone which caused a chill to go through everyone. I just made it clear that I am not anyone's puppet and whatever plans some of you may have for me should be considered crushed. She continued with the same cold tone. My life is for me to decide, am I understood? She said, causing everyone to nod quickly. Hiashi stared at his daughter in awe. During her statement, Hinata displayed strength and confidence that he couldn't believe this was his daughter. It reminded him of his late wife. She displayed such strength and was a real lioness when protecting their daughters. In fact, their auras were strikingly similar. Hiashi couldn't help the smile that spread on his lips. You've become strong, Hinata. I thought I made that clear just now. Hinata said, her tone softening. True, but I wanted to say it just to make it clear. He explained, still smiling. I'm so very proud of you. Hinata smiled as she offered her hand to her father. Thank you, father. Hiashi took his daughter's hand as she helped him stand. Flashback end. Tsunade and Shizune looked at Hiashi's smiling face as he finished with astonishment. How long ago was this? Tsunade asked. Probably a week ago. He answered. What else? Ah. Everyone on the room was startled by a scream coming from outside, followed by the sound of branches snapping. Tsunade quickly got up from her chair to look out her window. What's going on out here? She looks towards a nearby tree to see Shikamaru hanging from one of the branches. Shikamaru. She cuts herself off when something else descends from the sky and hits Shikamaru, causing him to be free from the branches and crash on the ground. Shikamaru. Tsunade calls out his name in concern as she leaps from the window to land in front of him. Shikamaru is lying on his upper back, with his legs lying against the tree facing up and a backpack on his face. Are you alright? She kneels down and removes the backpack from his face, which left an imprint. Shikamaru looked up at Tsunade before muttering troublesome. He took the backpack from her and put it back on his face. Tsunade was annoyed at his behavior, but before she could voice it out, several shinobi arrived to check out what came flying into the village. Lady Tsunade, is everything alright? One of them asked. Yes, nothing to worry about. Tsunade assured them. But what about him? Another one said, pointing to Shikamaru. It's fine, it's just Shikamaru. She said, causing everyone to nod in understanding before disappearing. Tsunade rose to her feet as looked up at her window where Hiashi and Shizune were looking at her. She jumped back up to her window as Shizune and Hiashi made room for her. Hiashi, I think we should continue this discussion some other time. I understand, Lady Hokage. Hiashi agreed. Also keep a close watch over Hinata in case she shows any more strange behavior. Tsunade told him. If I may ask Milady, what makes you so suspicious of her? Hiashi asks. It's not just her. Tsunade looks at him with a serious look. What I'm about to tell you only myself, Shizune, Jiraiya, and Kakashi know. What's going on? Hiashi asked, not liking the seriousness of this conversation. Your daughter along with Naruto and Ino, have someone learned the fourth Hokage's famous jutsu, the Flying Thunder God technique? Tsunade said, causing Hiashi's eyes to widen in shock. Are you serious? Hiashi blurted out. Quite serious. Tsunade said as she watched Hiashi cast his gaze down. How can this be? Hiashi asked no one in particular as he rubbed his forehead. How did Hinata come across such a coveted technique from the fourth Hokage? Hiashi, what I just told you must never be revealed to anyone else. Am I understood? Tsunade told him sternly. Yes, Lady Hokage. Hiashi agreed, still trying to wrap his mind around the fact that his eldest daughter knows the Flying Thunder God technique, but then he realizes something. Lady Tsunade, there is a seal that the Hyuga main house created to prevent the branch house from using their Byakugan to spy on them. Yes, I am aware of that seal. Tsunade says. I believe Hinata used it on herself. Hiashi told her. I fail to see the problem with that since she's allowed to use it on herself, I believe. Tsunade said, not understanding Hiashi's concern. Hinata would never use that seal since she believes it's a sign of distrust between the main and branch houses. She was against putting the seals in her room, but we did it anyway for her own good. So the fact that she would willingly use it on herself is unlike her. Hiashi finished explaining. I see, thank you for telling me this. Tsunade said as she pondered this new information. Lady Tsunade, does Inoichi know about this? Hiashi asks. No, I didn't get a chance to talk to him yet. He's currently out on a mission. She explained. Very well, I'll be sure to keep an eye on my daughter. Hiashi bowed before exiting the Hokage's office. Do you think he took it well? Shizune asks. Perhaps. Tsunade sighs. I wonder how Inoichi will take it. Meanwhile at the village gate, Ino, Temari, Choji and Asuma have finally arrived. Alright Ino, Choji, you two can head on home, I'll report to the Hokage. Asuma said, and the second he finished that sentence Ino sped off. The Casey Automori Outwo. Ino quickly said while leaving a trail of dust behind her. She's probably in a hurry to get laid. Temari commented as she and Azuma headed to the Hokage tower. In no time they were both standing before the Hokage. Asuma, how was the mission? Tsunade asked. The mission went well, Lady Tsunade. Asuma responded as he handed Tsunade his mission report. That's great to hear. Tsunade said as she took a scroll from Asuma. That will be all. Asuma noted before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Tsunade then turned her attention to Temari. Temari, how was your trip? It was fine, Milady. Temari answered as she handed Tsunade some documents. Thank you. Tsunade said as she took the documents from her and began to go over its contents. She then stamped the documents with her special ink stamp before filing it away. Everything is all set. Tsunade told Temari. Will you be returning to Suna now? I'll get a bite to eat first before heading out. Temari told her. Are you sure you don't want to wait till tomorrow to go back to Suna? It can be dangerous to travel alone. Especially someone as important as you. Tsunade said. Yes, I'm sure, I have something planned for tomorrow, and I am fully capable of dealing with whatever comes my way. Temari told Tsunade. I don't doubt that. Tsunade agreed, knowing full well what Temari was capable of. Then I'll be seeing you soon, Milady. Temari bowed before exiting the office. Youngsters these days. Tsunade shook her head as she smiled. You know what they say, blondes have more fun. Tsunade was startled by the voice coming from behind her. She turned her chair around to glare at Jiraiya. Baka. How many times have I told you to stop doing that? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Jiraiya grinned sheepishly before Tsunade bonked him on the head. Ow. What was that for? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Tsunade mocked as Jiraiya rubbed his head. She crossed her arms under her impressive bosom and narrowed her eyes at Jiraiya. So what did you find out? Noticing the seriousness of her voice, Jiraiya replied. I checked all my sources, but I was unable to find anything in regards to Shin. No one has ever heard of him until now. Tsunade sighed before taking a seat. Great. She groaned in frustration. It's as if he just came out of thin air. Jiraiya commented. We just need to analyze the information we already have on him to find some kind of weakness. Well then I've got good news for you then. Tsunade said with a knowing smile. We have someone that can not only go toe-to-toe with Shin, but actually manage to beat him too. She told him still smiling. Who? Jiraiya asked leaning closer. Hyuga Hinata. Tsunade told him. Hiyashi's daughter? Jiraiya questioned. Yep, it seems her clan techniques were very effective against him. So she's our best chance against him. Tsunade explained still smiling. I'd hate to wipe the smile off your beautiful face, but after his defeat by her hands, Shin will probably come up with a strategy to fight her in case they meet again. Jiraiya explained. Tsunade's smile turned into a frown which caused Jiraiya to immediately regret having said anything, but then her smile quickly returns. Then we'll just have to come up with a strategy ourselves. Naruto's apartment. Naruto sighed as he laid on his bed, arms behind his head and staring at the ceiling. He was disappointed that he didn't get to see Ino and let her know that he was alright. She was really against him doing this and he hated himself for upsetting her. I have to make it up to her somehow. He closed his eyes and began to think of what he could do for Ino when his stomach started growling. No use thinking on an empty stomach, time for some ramen. He got out of bed and headed for the door, but just as his hand was about to reach the handle the door suddenly swung open, causing him be slammed against the wall. Naruto, are you here? Ino called out as she entered Naruto's apartment, the door closing behind her to reveal a disoriented Naruto as he stumbles forward. Ino checked Naruto's room first. Not here. She muttered as she noticed that his bed was disturbed. He was here. She said excitedly as she checked the room for any more signs, while Naruto was stumbling around outside his bedroom. She checked his closet, rummaging through his clothes. There was some spare clothes for her, since she sometimes stays over. She closes his closet and begins to head towards the bedroom door. On the other side, Naruto is leaning against the wall next to his bedroom door. The room around him was spinning, and he couldn't think straight.